Evening and welcome to Wendy's in downtown Coffeyville. I'm Shane Neal. It's our Red Raven Coaches Show here presented by our friends at Wendy's, and we have a great show for you in store tonight. We have a lot of fun here to be had. Coach Dale, we're taking a week off. It's his son's birthday, so Coach on dad duty tonight, but we'll be hearing from each of the coordinators tonight. KUSN, Eldridge. Coach, thanks so much for being here. How you doing?
I'm doing pretty well, no problem. Thank you for.
And we figured, Coach and I talked a little bit over the weekend, and we figured, first of all, who am I to take him away from his kid's birthday? He asked if we could pre-record the show. He asked if we could figure something. I'm like, go be a dad, Coach. I mean, don't let me be that guy. But I figured, 2 games left in the season. We now have a 9-game sample size. It's a good opportunity to talk to you, talk to Coach Ortiz here in a little bit about how, certain position groups are playing and what you need from these teams. As obviously, as you know, Coach, the Ravens control their own destiny. 2 games left in the season, Independence and Butler, and if you can find a way to win both, you're looking at least a share of the Jayhawk Conference title, so a lot to play for here in these next couple weeks.
Yeah, no, definitely. I've been really proud of this team as a whole, not even just the defense. We've overcome some obstacles, but like you said, we control our own destiny, and it should be a good time.
And before we get into your defense and the guys on your defense, we'll be hearing from 2 of them a little bit later in the show. Coach, I want to get your thoughts as just somebody that was on the sideline on Saturday. The emotional roller coaster that there was. Obviously Breck had the long touchdown before halftime, and then you end up having your field goal blocked in return for a touchdown. It looks like Dodge City just had the play to swing the game. DJ Jackson ends up blocking the extra point, and then Dodge gets the football back, tries to drive down the field for the win, and then LJ Hall ends up blocking the field goal to keep your conference championship hopes alive. I'm sure that sideline was just an absolute, just craziness after that game was over.
It was definitely crazy, especially when the game was over and we came out on top. But we preach to the guys all the time. You got to keep a level head, and we preach put out all fires on defense. So regardless of what happens in the game, we know we got to go out there and do our own thing.
Well, Coach, let's start with the defensive line and work our way back here on your defense. And obviously, 2 guys that we called names early this year have continued to be 2 of the top edge rushers on this team. That being Fred Giles and DJ Jackson. And obviously, as you know, in this conference, you need to be able to rush the quarterback and put pressure in the backfield to win football games. And I think those 2 guys have done a really good job of leading that group and getting some pressure in the backfield.
Oh yeah, they've done a terrific job all season long. They've been really, really consistent for us. Giving a shout out to DJ for being versatile as well. Like, we put him at a couple different positions in the D-line. He's done really, really well for us, and Fred he just plays really, really, really hard.
And I know, obviously you have to have a high motor to play college football, but it feels like Fred Giles is maybe on a different level when it comes to high motor. It feels like we could be 70, 80 snaps into a football game, and it still looks like it's the first third down of the game the way he's getting pressure off the line.
Fred, the way he plays is the way he practices every week. He plays really, really hard. He doesn't get tired, it seems like, which is really nice for us. But, I'm really proud of those guys.
And, Coach, when you obviously came into Coffeyville as the DC, the tradition of this Red Raven program, strong defenses and being able to stop the run. And this defense has done a great job of stopping the run all season. Big part of that the D-line, big part of that the linebackers as well. But it's just kind of a pillar of this program, a pillar of, being a successful team in the Jayhawk, that you got to stop the running game. And this team seems to do that at a high level once again this year.
Oh, yeah. We definitely spend a lot of time every week trying to figure out how we're going to stop the run for that week. The guys do a really good job locking in and executing everything that we call, and it's been working out for us.
And I know there's still a couple more days of scout and film to go over for Independence, but no stranger to this conference with Samari Collier, with Bryce Kahn over at Dodge City, with Garden City as well, but another mobile quarterback coming up this weekend with Nathaniel Owens. So that just seems to be another wrinkle that the Jayhawk throws into it. It's not just these star running backs you have to worry about. It's also the quarterback that can decide at any given moment to just tuck it and go for 20 yards.
Exactly. Yeah, no, we've done a pretty good job with dual threat quarterbacks this season. The Indy has a good running back quarterback tandem. Really good, one not to be overlooked, and we got to make sure that we're on our P's and Q's this week to make sure we handle that.
Absolutely. Coach, let's talk briefly. Obviously, I feel like something that's really impressed me about this Raven team this year is the depth that they bring. We've had injuries where you wonder, obviously Jaden Shepard missed 3 games early in the season. That seemed like it could be an injury that derailed the season, but, the depth stepped up. Lonnie Burt missed a couple games. The depth stepped up. But I think the D-line is really the best example of the depth on this football team, because obviously Fred and DJ are out there for a majority of snaps, but you have 7-8 D tackles on this team that rotate in. You have 7-8 defensive ends that rotate in, and it seems like there's no drop off in terms of talent? I mean, obviously having, your top two guys out there helps generate more pressure, but it feels like, if Fred or DJ need a third down off or need a play to catch their breath, it's not like you're throwing a play because you're taking them out of the game.
Yes, for sure. I got to give props even before I got here with the recruiting aspect of that, because that's a big part of that. And then coaching now, like our coaches put a lot of time in, especially with 1s, 2s, 3s, because you never know who's going to go in the game. We play a violent game. People can get hurt, and next man up mentality, but at the same time, too, you got to practice, prepare like you're starting and playing every snap.
No doubt. You mentioned, of course, with Fred, his motor in practice, and you mentioned how, some of these guys have really bought into, moving around their position a little bit, doing what's best for the team any given week. Talk about, before we get into linebackers, just this unit as a whole and the effort they bring every single day. Because like you said, something that we heard from Daniel Tomboy on the men's basketball team last night is, he continued to put in the work in practice and continued to be ready for his opportunity. Went out, had a double-double last night.
Yeah.
And I feel like this football team is the same way. All the talent in the world on this football team, but none of that really matters if they don't, go out there and want it. And it feels like this team goes out there every Saturday and wants it.
At all, yeah. That's the story of the game that we all love. If you respect the game will respect you back, and we try to preach that to our kids too. And like I said, practicing really, really hard every week, like you're going to play every snap, is the way to go about it. And especially the D-line, they do a really, really good job. They just care.
Coach, your linebackers, obviously another position group that has a lot of depth, but I think the top three have really, I think you could make an argument, have been just as good as any linebacker core in this conference. Of course, you have KJ holding it down as the sophomore returner. You have Marquise Lane Owens, who moved from kind of a slot corner hybrid role into outside linebacker and has been one of the best tacklers in the Jayhawk.
Yep.
And you have the freshman Lonnie Bird, who stepped in and looked like a sophomore from the first game he played. Those three, obviously you have other guys, and we'll talk about them here in a sec, but those three have really just led that room from week one, and they've been impressive.
Yeah, no, those guys right there, they do everything you could ask a football player to do. In my meetings, they're great. They take notes, they listen, they ask questions, they go out there, practice everything that they would do in a game. Practice in a game for them looks very, very, very identical, and I'm really impressed and proud of those guys for the way that they've handled things.
And we talk about, we've talked to a couple of these guys on the show, but, again, the depth shows its head here at this position where you have a couple guys that, either have some multiple responsibilities on defense. Jack Lanning, a guy we talked to, where he can play safety and linebacker, and it was impressive to me that he kind of played that off like it's not a big deal. I'm like, you play DB and linebacker over the course of the game. That's two very different roles. And then you have a guy like Christian Sicard that has been a star on special teams this year, and then can also come in to play linebacker anytime you need him to. So it's just another position group, especially linebacker, where we've seen Lonnie miss some games this year, and we've seen, I'm sure, points this year KJ and Marquise be a little banged up, and the fact that you have 3-4 other guys that can go in and still be productive, high-quality college football linebackers is impressive.
Yeah, no, that's just a testament to how much they care as well. They go in every week, every day, like it's their last, and it's been amazing for everybody on the team, honestly, because like I tell them every week, which is not necessarily the whole truth, but I tell them we only go as you go. And I like to tell them that because that's what gets them really, really, really going.
No doubt about it. And, Coach, we move to your secondary now. And before we get into, I know we have a guy here tonight that blocked the game-winning kick against Dodge City, and I definitely want to touch on him because I think he's playing the best football of the season right now. But two guys that have been a common theme that we've talked about all year is the leaders of not just this room, but also probably this defense, and Kyler Christmas and Jaden Shepard. When you got here as a first-year DC here at Coffeyville, working with those two every day, not just the talented players that they are on the field, but it feels like one of those two gets a takeaway almost every single game.
Yep.
But also just the leaders that they are. I remember a game against Garden City, which originally was a loss. Jaden down on the field consoling, the kicker. And, you can tell that those two are respected just about as much as anybody on this team.
Oh, for sure. The maturity level of those two right there, they help our defense go. Without those guys, we wouldn't be playing as well as we have been playing these last few weeks. And like you said earlier, like Jaden got hurt early. But even when he was down and out, everybody's checking up on him. But he's trying to make sure all of us are okay, especially when he gets back. But, now in Kyler, he's the leader back there in the secondary. And that Kyler and then Lauren tandem is beautiful.
Absolutely, and we talked about a couple weeks ago. We talked to Lawrence Brown and LJ for the first time this year, and found out that the nickname for the DB room is Seatbelt Nation, and I love that. But those two guys are another two that I want to touch on. Lawrence Brown, of course, the transfer, was kind of learning the system, kind of easing his way in at the start of the year, but really the second half of the season has been the perfect complement outside corner with Kyler. Obviously Kyler, there was a lot of pressure on him that he was going to be going up against number ones every single week, and now you have a guy like Lawrence, you have another guy, Savion Kennan, that it feels like there's depth in that room now, and then LJ, who you mentioned, kind of becoming that Jaden mold where he seems like he makes a big play every week now. He's forced a fumble. He's had a big interception against Hutchinson. He had the block kick to beat Dodge. It's just a guy that seems to be finding his way into the big moments.
Yeah, there's a lot of movement in that group, and I think they're finally starting to settle down, and the game's slowing down for him. Another one that I don't think was mentioned was Jarvis Murray as well.
Absolutely.
So Jarvis, Savion, Lawrence holding it down in the corner room with Christmas playing a little bit of safety, LJ going to safety. It's been, and Baruch Hasabu as well, helping us out, being Swiss Army knives, being able to play multiple positions. But like I said, they're starting to settle down and make a lot of plays, and the game's slowing down. It's becoming easy for them.
No doubt, Coach. My only dislike of the coaches show is the fact that when we only have 30 minutes, I wish we could spend 30 minutes talking about the defense. The last thing I have for you here before we get into talking to a couple of your defensive guys, DJ Jackson, LJ Hall here tonight. With 2 games left in the season, we talked about at the start of the show, Indy and Butler. You win, and some pretty big things can happen for this program. But what is the goal, and what is the expectations for this group to finish this season strong and handle the business? An opportunity that you've really, like we talked about, you have the ball in your court.
The goal is to win out, and like I said if you respect the game of football, it should respect you back. So if we go out there this week, take it a week at a time, handle business this week, then we'll get on to the next game against Butler, and we'll see what happens.
We love to hear it. Red Ravens take on Independence coming up on Saturday, 12:30 pregame, 1 o'clock kickoff. Defensive coordinator Kosai Eldridge, good enough to join us here on the Red Raven Coaches Show. Coach, thanks so much. We appreciate it, and best of luck coming up this weekend.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. Let's hear from a couple of the guys when we come back. DJ Jackson, LJ Hall in the house. We'll also hear from Jaleel Boast coming up at the end of the show with offensive coordinator Angel Ortiz. Let's take a 2-minute timeout. DJ and LJ join us next here on US 98. Live from Wendy's in downtown Coffeyville, I'm Shane Neal. We appreciate Coach Eldridge for joining us here at the start of the show. And we're now joined by a pair of the guys on the defense, the two guys that made the blocks on Saturday against Dodge City. defensive lineman DJ Jackson, and safety LJ Hall. Guys, both of you, thank you so much for being here. I know you've been on the show before, but we're glad to see you again because obviously it means that the Red Ravens are still in the live for a conference title. So let's talk about each of those blocks. We'll start with you, DJ, because you had the first one. But obviously the play before could have been a huge momentum shift where the Ravens were trying to take a 2-score lead, went for the field goal, Dodge City blocked it, ran it back for a touchdown. That extra point was going to be to tie the game. So what was, obviously, I know you guys practice kick block plays all the time, but when you went out there for that extra point try, what was going through your head, and what did you see on the snap that allowed you to get a hand up and block that kick?
So every time we go out there for a field goal block, I tell one of the teammates named AB. So I tell him, like, hit the guy. And when he hit the dude perfectly, and I just went straight through it and just blocked it. But I already told the player that I was going to block it. So,
you already told him that you were going to block it?
Yeah, he was saying we weren't going to block it and all that.
So. I love that. I love that. That's calling your shot, Babe Ruth-esque right there.
Right.
And then of course later in the game, Dodge City driving down the field, they get a chance to win the game with a 39-yarder. First of all, Coach Dover with the timeout of his career. To get that off with 1 second left, that's a moment that we might be talking about here at the end of the season because that was about as clutch as it gets right there from a head coach. But then you obviously go back out there, you force the kicker to think about it a little bit. I know it was not the greatest snap in the world, but LJ, what did you see on that play, and how did you end up getting back there and able to get your hand on it to seal the Raven W?
Jarvis Murray, our corner, he didn't block two earlier in the season, so when they hiked the ball, the wing guy just jumped right out to him and grabbed him, and they just opened everything up for me. So
great stuff.
And blocked it.
And we talked about originally on the broadcast, and I'm glad that we were able to give you your credit a few minutes later. We thought Jarvis was the one that had blocked it.
Yes, sir.
But I think that you both talked about that, where you have, on those design block plays, you kind of have almost that guy that you're paired up with, where if they attack you, I'm going. If they attack me, you're going.
Yes, sir.
And it's interesting to me that both of you on that given play, you kind of understood the situation, and as soon as you saw the offensive lineman bite on the other guy, I'm home free.
Right.
So, okay, guys, obviously we talked about it a little bit with Coach Eldridge, but, this Raven team has put themselves in a spot where November football means something here as compared to last year. But big rivalry coming up on Saturday against the Independence Pirates. And obviously, you need to win to keep your conference title hopes alive. So we'll start with you, DJ. But what have you seen in the early stages of watching film this week, and what you've seen on ICC about how the defensive line's gonna get pressure in the backfield? Because once again, it's another mobile quarterback coming up this week for your defense.
What we're going to do, well, as a D-line, we're trying to keep the running back and the QB contained. So that's really one of the biggest things that we're worrying about right now, because the running back is like a little shifter. So that's really what we're worrying about. But D-line should attack.
And obviously, I'm sure this team's noticed it as well in some of the film that you've watched. With this ICC team, I think their record a little misleading. I know that they've had some struggles at times this year, but I think in the last month or so they're playing significantly better football. So have you noticed anything from their offense in particular when you're watching film that they've maybe changed up that seems to be working better for them, and how you're going to kind of adjust to their adjustments?
I give it the option, the RPO, and the inside run. Because the running back, once he get the ball, he make it way himself. Because the O-line don't really give me, too much hype. But he make all the plays.
I gotcha. And LJ, obviously we've talked about this secondary, I think, is playing their best football of the year right now. When you have guys like Kyler and Lawrence on the outside, you have you, Jaden, Buruk in the middle that can, make plays on the ball. What is the key to this secondary continuing to have Seatbelt Nation, if you will? What is the key to them continuing to have success here coming up this weekend?
We just got to make sure we don't blow no coverages. That's where most of our bad plays come from this season, blowing coverages. If we just lock in, get the plays, communicate, we'll be straight.
And LJ, something that I'm curious to hear your thoughts on, because I think we saw something very similar with Jaden Shepard last year, where he kind of, he got more and more playing time as the year went on, and he started making big plays, bigger plays as the year went on. Had the pick to seal the win over Butler, had a big forced fumble in a game as well at the end of the season. And now it feels like the last couple weeks you forced a fumble, you had a pick against Hutchinson, you blocked the kick against Dodge City. What has led to you being more comfortable out there on the field and finding yourselves in the middle of some of these big plays?
I think it's just confidence. You just it's playing DB. You gotta have a lot of confidence, and I feel like I done got all my confidence back.
And I assume, obviously being a safety like you are, having guys like Kyler and Lawrence and, Savion, some of these other guys we've talked about, it has to, make your job so much easier because you're not worried about those guys getting beat in coverage.
Yes.
You're able to kind of patrol the middle of the field, watch the quarterback's eyes and kind of, keep your eyes on keeping everything contained like DJ talked about where, on other teams that maybe don't have as much depth in the cornerback room, you have to worry about, helping a corner over the top.
Yes, sir.
So, guys, obviously, I think it's important, and I think, Coach Eldridge talked about it. You got to take it one game at a time with, here at this stage of the season. But it is obviously interesting to me that, arguably the two biggest rivals for the Red Ravens to end the season, Independence and Butler, with, a potential for making a push for a conference title on the line. So I want to hear both of your thoughts on this. Obviously, I know Hutch is not loved here in Coffeyville either, but what does it mean to you guys not only to have the opportunity to compete for a Jayhawk Conference championship, but also to do it against, maybe the two teams that Red Raven fans hate the most, in Independence and Butler?
Feel great. I just say Indy better come with their A game because we're ready.
I love to hear it. LJ, obviously, at the end of the day, like we've talked about, you guys got to do your jobs, guys got to execute, and something I love about this football team is I think you guys have really embraced the mentality of, it's all about us. We don't care what other people do. It's all about us. If we handle our business, we're going to win. But obviously, I think it probably fires up that locker room a little bit more, knowing that it's Indy and Butler, and not just no game in the Jayhawks a random game. But obviously, these two games seem to mean a little more every year.
Yes, sir.
So what is the mindset that you've that your teammates and your position group is taking? Is there any extra kind of edge, any extra fire in your guys' preparation this week, knowing that it's Independence, or are you guys just trying to treat it like another football game?
We just treating it like another football game. Just go out there and win by all means.
LJ Hall and DJ Jackson, good enough to join us here on the Red Raven Coaches Show. Guys, appreciate your time very much. And once again, we are very glad to see you here after that big win over Dodge City. And we wish you the best of luck against Indy as you guys go for win number 8.
Yes, sir. Appreciate it.
Absolutely. Let's take a 2-minute timeout. When we come back, we'll hear from offensive coordinator Angel Ortiz and wide receiver Jaleel Bost. We'll be right back here on US 98. Coach's Show here live from Wendy's downtown Coffeyville. I'm Shane Neal. So happy you're with us here on this Wednesday. And we're going to wrap up the show tonight with look at the offense. We took a look at the defense earlier with Coach Eldridge. Now we have offensive coordinator Angel Ortiz as well as wide receiver Jaleel Boast here in Wendy's. Thank you guys both so much for being here. How are you?
Good. Appreciate you having us.
Absolutely. And obviously, before we kind of talk about the offense a little bit, I'd love to hear from you guys the same thing we asked Coach Eldridge earlier in the show. What a wild game on Saturday. What was the emotion going through the sideline when you see LJ block that kick? First of all, I talked about it earlier in the show. Probably the best timeout of Nick Dover's career. Getting that off with 1 second left to force him to re-kick it. But what was kind of the emotion on the sideline? Because obviously we knew the winner of that game kept their conference title hopes alive. And obviously I don't think it's a hyperbole to say biggest play of the season.
Yes, definitely agreed. That was definitely a big play. Obviously the coordinator, I tend to look back at all the little things that we didn't do, and the reasons why they were in that position. But definitely some relief for sure. It's an ugly game. It's rainy. I mean, things were going back and forth in a way, but for sure some relief. I mean, it took all three phases to get it done, and we preach it all the time that it's going to take all three phases, and it was paid in full for sure.
Absolutely. And Coach, I know, like you said, as an OC, you're always looking at things that the offense can improve upon and things that the offense can execute better. But you just kind of hinted at it there with a defense, the caliber of this defense, with the linebackers playing the way they're playing, the secondary getting takeaways, has to be just a blessing to have not feel like you need to score every time you touch the football. You like to score every time you touch the football, but you have a defense that's playing really good football right now, and I feel like that takes a lot of pressure off of the quarterback, a lot of pressure off of the coordinator, a lot of pressure off of the entire offensive group.
I mean, yes. It's always definitely good to have a defense playing the way they are right now. They're really instinctive. I mean, they're playing fast with confidence. Coach does a great job in getting them ready. His scheme, is a pain in the butt, as I like to call it. They're not going to pick it up right away in the beginning of the season, and there's going to be some hiccups, and you can see that the stride that they've taken and the confidence that they're playing with. I mean, DBs are flying all over the place. Linebackers are really hitting some really good strides right now. And then, the defensive line is playing really well. They're playing fast. And, for me, for sure, it's a blessing to have them. We, in a way, you can say we don't need to score 30, but we want to score 30 and more. We want to score in every possession. I mean, it's good to have a good defense, but I don't take it for granted for sure.
And Coach, I know we could sit here for an hour and talk about the guys on your team, but quickly, let's abbreviate, kind of go through each group on this offense. And of course, the quarterback room has been a room that's been a really interesting topic all season long. We've seen three different guys. Obviously, we've seen Joseph Vick the last 2 weeks, and I think he's played very well. I think he's done his job with something that Coach mentioned last week. He's executed. He hasn't turned the ball over, with the exception of a fumble. But what have you seen a difference, if there has been a difference, from Joseph in these last two starts versus him earlier in the season? That I feel like he's playing very confidently right now.
One, playing with confidence, and then the second piece of that, I would say, it was a small conversation I had with him is, when you start utilizing your legs a little bit more, you're just going to become a more complete player. And he's taking what the defense is giving him. And then the turnover part obviously helps. I mean, he hasn't turned over the ball like that. We just had that small turnover from his part. The ball slipped out of his hands and he was going to throw it. But to be fair, he's definitely for sure worked hard at it. I know there's been multiple starters at that position. He stayed grinding, stayed in it, and definitely playing with more confidence.
And Coach, the running back room, another room that I think has just been so impressive this year. Obviously, we knew what you had at the top, and the returner Trey Jones, and the redshirt freshman Steven Robinson, and the transfer DeAndre Kelly. But the depth that's been shown this year with McKentis Adams, with Charles Morgan having 4 touchdowns against Ellsworth, it has to be. We talked a little bit about Trey coming back from that shoulder injury, and now it feels like you don't necessarily have to rush him back because, you have 5 guys in this room that can run the football at a very high level.
Yes, and, we take pride in the run game. I mean, that's our baby. And for sure it's a blessing to have those guys and the depth that we have there, that at any time anyone can step in and do the job. Yeah, Trey is definitely a big part of it. Steve, Kelly, Adam. He was sitting behind those three guys for a little bit, and then his time came and he took full advantage of it. And then, Charles Morgan, was obviously a scout team for a little bit. And then, his time had to come, and he's worked really hard. We heard some really good things, and we saw some good things with him in the scout team. And, definitely took advantage of the opportunity for sure at First Ellsworth.
No doubt about it. And, obviously, you talked about we've seen different quarterbacks this year, and something that they've all had in common is having some pretty impressive playmakers in the receiver room. Breck Long having a great year at tight end. Cam Paul had a big game with Breck Hurt against Highland. And the receivers, Ty Durham has really emerged as a great deep threat. Brandon Hayward, a talented freshman. We've seen Jet Perez at times. And then, obviously, the guy sitting here to my left has been a big part of the last month or so, Jaleel Boast. So what do you see from the receivers and the tight end room that have really allowed these quarterbacks to play really good football because they continue to get open and make plays?
Biggest thing is take advantage of the opportunity. Okay, when that ball's in the air, like I tell them, everyone, and you should be thinking, I can't wait for everybody to see me make this play. And obviously, being my position, the one that I personally coach, we coach them hard. There's nothing easy about playing receiver for us. It's one of the definitely the toughest position to play here. Obviously, the offensive line, does a great job, and then they get after it as well. But it's take advantage of the opportunity. There's only going to be so many touches, so many balls thrown your way. You got to be a route runner. You got to be relentless. You got to block. And to be honest with you, anybody can take anybody's job at any time, and we're always hot.
And Jaleel, to kind of piggyback off of that, obviously you've kind of worked your way more and more into playing time. We talked about that the last time you were on the show, and now pretty consistent part of this offense. And what has it been like, obviously, working with Coach Ortiz every day in practice and kind of carving out that role for yourself and now, being a trusted playmaker on this offense?
Coach Ortiz always strives for perfection, even though not everybody's going to be perfect, but you want to be close. So I always try to be as perfect as I can be. So when the ball comes my way, like my uncle said, he say, see ball, get ball. So I just try to go get the ball every time I get the opportunity.
And I know that, obviously receivers take pride in, being a guy that their quarterback trusts. But we've seen a lot in the last couple of weeks. A big part of this is your ability to run routes and get open. But a lot of key third downs, a lot of key plays where your team's looking for points or looking to move the ball quickly. They're looking your direction. You and Breck, I think it's safe to say, have been the two guys that this team is really looking for in those big moments. And what does that mean to you that, your guys under center trust you enough that if it's 3rd and 8, 3rd and 12, they're looking for you to move the chains?
Man, I take pride in that. So I want you to come my way. The chances I got when the ball's in the air, I'm going to take it. So if you throw it my way, I'm going to get us at least a first down. I want to take as much as I can and just provide for the team.
Hey, Coach, just a couple more things. Appreciate you taking some time with us here tonight. You mentioned, of course, the offensive line and what they've done this year, and I think you hit the nail on the head. And obviously, a team with a good quarterback, a team with good running backs, a team with good receivers, only as good as the guys blocking for them. And I think, obviously, there's been a couple hiccups in terms of giving up some sacks this year, but for the most part, this offensive line has been a stout unit that has given the quarterbacks time to throw, that has given the running backs lanes to run, and obviously it makes everybody's job easier when those guys are up front winning at the line of scrimmage.
You know what? First, I have to take my hat off. We have a great offensive line coach. Coach Gibbs has done a great job coming in and really teaching these guys and being tough on them. And they technically take his personality. They've done a great job. They've given up some sacks, but at the same time, some of those sacks that they have given up, yes, when it comes to the stacks, going to look at them. But some of those definitely can be quarterback right. Too. There's times that you got to throw it away. There's times that you can play the next play. And they have to learn that, in that part. But they are the bell cow of the offense. We rely with them and rely on them, and we're gonna lean on them. They are, they're gonna take us to where we want to go. It's up to them. That's the pressure we put on them, but they like it. And the best part is they are fun to coach, fun to have around. And I can't say enough about. I can be here talking about the O-line forever.
Love to hear that. Now, guys, I have one thing for each of you here as we put a bow on the show. Appreciate your time. We talked about it a little bit with DJ and LJ Jaleel, but obviously this is why you play college football. 7-2, an opportunity to potentially have the opportunity to win a conference championship with a couple wins here to end the season. And you end the season with arguably the two biggest rivals for the Red Ravens, Independence and Butler. So obviously you've been playing football for a long time. You've been a guy that's kind of been, I'm sure dreaming of playing for a championship, and a guy that's been dreaming of big games like this. So what are you and the other receivers doing to get ready for Indy and Butler and try to finish this season where you want to go?
Definitely a game plan and the stuff we run. We want to be great when it comes to stuff like that. And we just want to watch film and just break down our opponent as much as we can, because I know they're a good team. Their defense is pretty good. We just want to execute to a high level for real.
And, Coach, similar question, but more from a schematic point. Obviously, this offense has done a lot of good this year. You don't get to 7-2 without having, like you said, strong three phases. But with two big games, Independence playing significantly better football in the last month. Butler, obviously, arguably a top 10 team in the nation in terms of talent. They beat the number 1 team in the nation a few weeks ago. What do you need from your offense in these last 2 games of the year to get where you want to go and potentially be co-conference champions?
Consistency. We have to be consistent. And obviously can't turn the ball over. Obviously one of the biggest emphasis that we have. But when we're consistent and we get out of our own way, we're one of the top offenses in the country. Third down wise, we're one of the best ones out there. When we stay consistent. And, rivalry week, technically, and then technically back-to-back. I've been on this shoe. I've been on this side. I've been on both sides, actually. I've coached at Butler.
Yep.
And obviously I've coached against Indy. Both teams are very good. I throw the records away when it comes to Indy. I think the defense flies. I think they create chaos. They do play a lot of man, so it's not gonna be easy. It's rivalry. You got to throw the records away.
Great stuff. We appreciate Coach Angel Ortiz, Coach Kosai Eldridge joining us here tonight on the Red Raven Coaches Show, and appreciate Jaleel Boast, LJ Hall, DJ Jackson as well. Guys, thank you so much. This has been really fun, and we look forward to seeing you guys at the Vet one final time on Saturday against Indy.
Okay, I appreciate you for having us, and I appreciate everything y'all do for us.
Absolutely. Big thanks to Amber here tonight helping us with the RRSN. Big thank you as well to Scott Maples back in the studio. I'm Shane Neal saying so long here on the Red Raven Coaches Show live from Wendy's. We'll be back at it next Thursday night. We're moving to Thursdays next week as we get Coach Turner, Coach Herkelman involved on the basketball side of things. So Thursday night, 6 to 7 starting next week. So make sure you plan accordingly. We'll, of course, have that on our website as well. Let's get back to the music here on US 98.